I feel like you have to almost scream it from the rooftops, like, I need help. My hair is on fire, in order for somebody to say, oh, so you need help? Yeah, like I only just been saying it for forever.
What up, though? This is Dwan Dandridge, CEO of Black Leads Detroit.
What's happening? This is Ken, my bad. Ken.
Elkins. Yes. You don't even know his
Forgot my name. I've been here for a minute. This is Ken Elkins, COO of Black Leaders Detroit.
Yes. This is Kevin.
What we here to do today, Dwan? What we here to do, brother?
You want to take it from the top?
No, I wanted that whole thing there.
Oh, sweet.
That whole thing there.
So we are here to kick off our podcast that we're calling Speak for Yourself. And it is an extension of what we started during our Ride for Equity last year at Black Leads Detroit, where we want to get with different community members to learn more about them and share who we are and hear from them. A lot of times we assume that we know something about someone or a group of people based on what we heard in the media or in the news, and oftentimes that's misleading. So we want to hear directly from the people. And right now, today, we have with us Crystal, who's going to introduce herself and who she is and what she does, and why we're having a conversation today. So I'm going to pass the mic to our first guest and speak for yourself.
I guess we're not technically passing the mic because I have my own, but my name is Crystal Robertson. I own a State Farm agency on 7 Mile in Livernois. I have been open, since July of 2021.
Okay.
And what else am I saying about myself? I'm great.
You great? Okay.
Great.
All right.
Nice.
Chris Paul was in your office.
Chris Paul is not. I am the new Chris Paul.
Got you. Okay, so you've been open since July of 21.
Yes.
Okay. All right. How's business going so far?
It's going really well. I'm overwhelmed with blessings, if you will, because it's going really, really well. We're top 51 out of top 100 agents in the country.
Nice.
We are 846 out of 19,000.
Whoa.
I'm sorry, top one, out of new agents, top 51 out of 100. 846 out of 19,000 in the country. Number one in small business policies. And we're a little engine that could. We are not playing. We got our foot on the necks, and we are not letting up.
Nice. I mean, so you launched 2021. We still were dealing with the pandemic in a real serious way. I think one of my kids might have still been hybrid, half the time learning at home, half the time in school. So what was your thoughts going into business during that time?
I was nervous. I was super scared for a couple reasons. One, because I'm launching in a pandemic. And two, this is my first rodeo as being an entrepreneur. So I was super nervous and didn't know what to expect, but it's been, amazing. It's been amazing.
So what were you doing before you started?
I was director of operations for Better Business Bureau before. Prior to that, I was a marketing manager at CDK Global. We were responsible for all of General Motors Chevy accounts, so all 26,000 of their dealerships across the country. And before that, I was leadership development at Verizon Wireless.
Nice.
So, of course, one of the biggest things about our organization is offering access to capital funding. Talk to us a little bit when you started your business, your State Farm agency. Did you have capital? Did you have funding? Did you have to get loans, apply for loans, come out of your pocket? How did you, get it jumped off?
I had my own money. I just kind of saved my own money. And I have to be honest with you, I looked high and low to try to get loans, and it just wasn't happening. So what I decided is I was just going to try to make it happen on my own. So that's kind of what I did until you guys, and then prior to you guys, Detroit Development Fund. That's where my assistance came from.
And that's funny because Dwan talks about that a lot, right? That's one of the big messages is how, as Black entrepreneurs, a lot of times we have to start on our own, funding it out of our own pocket, right? And just trying to navigate through that so that doesn't have to be a possibility. Because that always, when that roadblock comes, it provides that obstacle to get to that next level. Obviously, you were able to get through it and to find some assistance. That's pretty sweet.
But there was a couple times I wanted to just apply for a corporate position and go back to corporate because it was so frustrating. So I was applying, and I really think it was just God just directing me to State Farm to open my own agency, because every time I applied for something, the door closed every single time. And that never happened to me. Never happened to me. And it just kept happening. So I'm like, okay.
So every time you apply for a position, not for funding.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Every time I apply for like okay, I'm going to go back to corporate America. And it was just like, nope, closing the door.
Yeah.
Got you.
So
Got you.
I did something about this opportunity I need to make happen.
So you talked about Detroit Development Fund. What did it feel like for you at Black Leaves Detroit having a pot of funding that was set up specifically for Black entrepreneurs? How did you feel when you heard about that? What were your thoughts?
So I have to be honest, I stalked you guys on Instagram for a pretty long time before I applied. I think I was telling you, Ken. So I started stalking you guys when I opened. And 6 months through, I saw that you guys had a no interest thing. And it was like, but you have to be open for a year. And I'm like, oh, okay. So literally, as soon as I was open a year, I applied. And it was, I think for me, it was, man, it was just, it's a big deal for me that you guys offered that specifically for somebody like me, because I've looked high and low to try to get loans, and either they're super expensive. This is about to be a loan. We're going to pull something out of your bank account every single day, which who can afford that? Or it just wasn't happening. So I think for one of the first times I felt like, okay, this is specifically for me. And I didn't feel like an underdog.
So are you familiar or connected with other entrepreneurs in the ecosystem? And have you heard of anybody else other than yourself having struggles when it comes to access to capital? And if so, why do you think that is? Why do you think that we're still in a city that's 80% Black, roughly, struggling to get equal access to capital as Black entrepreneurs?
I have a couple of opinions about that, right? But I think the median income in the city of Detroit is $35,000. The state of Michigan has the highest insurance rates in the country, and the city of Detroit has the highest insurance rates in the state. But we have the lowest median income in the state, in our city. We're typically taught to survive today because I don't quite know what's going to happen tomorrow. So my mother always taught us to, because she was a single mom, she didn't have much money, and we were taught to survive today. And I think that is so overwhelmingly true for a lot of us, that's why our mentality is how do I survive today? We're not really forward thinking. So sometimes we make bad decisions with credit. We make bad decisions just period, because we're looking to how do I just survive today, not thinking about what the consequences are going to be or what door that might shut for me moving forward. So I think we're just overwhelmingly taught to just survive as opposed to thriving. And that is just a shift in conversation that has just started happening in my opinion, for Black entrepreneurs and Black people, period. It's like, no, you're not the bottom of the barrel. You are the top. So act accordingly.
Yep. That is important. Like, so Dwan, like, how do you shift from both of you? How do you shift from the survive frame of thinking, right, to the thriving frame of thinking? Because that is a hard shift to make. And as you mentioned, I think coming up, I know that's how I felt when I dabbled in entrepreneurship. That's how I felt. It seemed like you're always living in survival mode, as you just mentioned, right? So how do you shift that, and why is that so important?
I think one of the things that I think about is exposure, right? Like I was going to ask Crystal to give some examples of what that looked like for her mother, right? For me, I remember my mother shopping for our food daily, right? Because the budget was so tight that she couldn't go out and spend her money on groceries for the week, right? She had to shop daily because if she got a flat tire on the car, she needed that money to be there so she can get back and forth to work. So I can relate to what you're talking about when you say we are in survival mode, right? So I think the thing that happens though is if you can get beyond that and you can get some level of exposure, right? And expand your network and get around people, black, white, or other, that are doing things differently. And then you get to in the position where you're making more money, then you can figure out kind of what it looks like because you already have that survival component, right? So like if you have that, that's half the win right there. The rest is making some money and getting some exposure to different ways of operating when you're making some money.
Right. Yeah, it's funny because I think for a lot of time you actually take pride, or at least I used to take pride off living in that mode, right? Being able to operate in that mode. So again, the shift in that thinking is so critical and so important to be able to change that thought. As Dwan was saying, like, give us an example of, of what that looks like for you or how that looked like for you.
Pretty similar. So my mom, it was the happiest thing ever when she came in the house with this food stamp booklet with these colorful little Monopoly monies in it. It was like great.
Oh, you kind of old. You was with food stamps. You ain't had a British card.
Yeah, no, I had no British
You got
card.
real food stamps.
I did. Like, okay, I'll tear this off.
Better bring the book with you.
Exactly. Or else they will not bust that coupon for you. So take that book. But it was, I used to get teased because I had them. I didn't know anything better. So my mother never said, "Oh, we don't have it, babe," or "We can't." It was always like, "Girl, make it happen." No, we're good. We're good. I didn't know Farina was like from Focus Hope. I didn't know that cheese was from Focus Hope. It was the greatest cheese ever, and I wish I could get some today. But I didn't know. I had no idea. I didn't even know what like Nikes were until I was in middle school. I was like, where are these people getting all these fancy shoes from? I had no idea.
Would you have Payless Boys?
Yeah. and I would step in school with a fresh, hot new pair and get blazed. Okay?
we gonna find out what that was like when we come back from commercial. We got to go run to a commercial real quick in our Payless specials.
So Janet K is one of the premier vendors at this year's downtown Detroit holiday market at 1 Cadillac Square. The shop offers luxurious charcuterie boards and boxes filled with exceptional ingredients intended to engage with the senses alongside a collection of glassware and home accessories. The market runs now until January 1st, open Wednesday, Thursdays, and Sundays, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Friday and Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. What started as an experience for guests during a backyard quarantine-style birthday party morphed into the charcuterie brand, Jana K. The brand has grown exponentially since its inception, largely due to its curated selection and pairing of fruit, cheeses, meats, and wines. Each board is an experience of an array of cultivated pairings that have been curated to provide tasteful, beautiful, and opulent delights. Visit our website at janetk.com or our IG page at JK Charcuterie. When you think of charcuterie, think of Jana K.
So we are back with Crystal. Did you give your last name when you introduced yourself?
I think so.
I don't even think you did. Robertson.
You never said your last
I
name.
didn't.
No,
She
it's
didn't.
Crystal, like
Yeah.
Beyonce.
I tried to play it off like,
Oh,
and
well,
I tried to play it off and not let on that.
Beyonce.
I tried to play it off and not let on that I didn't know your last name. It was like, we're gonna let Crystal introduce herself, and she was like, "I'm Crystal." You know what I mean? So now that she's, I mean, there's probably Crystal like on the lookout. I mean, hiding from folks. So she didn't want to give her last name to people. But Crystal Robertson, we're back with Crystal Robertson, State Farm, and we wanted to talk a little bit about something you dived into earlier in the conversation when you talked about, the Michigan having the highest insurance rates in the nation, and Detroit having the highest in the state. So does that mean that Detroit has the highest insurance rates in the country? Wow. So what does that feel like for you, right? I mean, you're representing that industry. So you sit in both seats, right? Like you are someone that's from Detroit, loves Detroit, obviously, and you're offering insurance and something that's a pain point for many Detroiters. So what does that feel like for you?
I'm just here so that I don't get fined. Next question. No, I'm kidding. So I think for me, it is like on both sides, right? Because I am too a consumer, so I have insurance to pay as well. But man, it just bums me out sometimes. However, what makes me feel a little better is since that personal injury protection law passed in July of 2021, it has made it a lot easier for us Detroiters to get insurance at a more reasonable cost, because we're able to. We don't have to go with the unlimited personal injury protection anymore. So that gave us a huge opportunity, and that's been a real game changer for us.
Okay. So what all insurances do you offer at your agency? Is it? I'm assuming that auto is probably your bread and butter.
Yes, auto and fire, which is like homeowners.
Okay.
Is my bread and butter. But we also do business, liability insurance, errors and omission, life insurance, of course, annuities. What else do I do? Medicare, Advantage. Commercial auto, and that is about it.
Nice. So one-stop shopping.
Yes, one-stop shop. I'm going to protect everything that you have.
So I'll ask another question, since you're just here so you don't get fined. I'll ask another one of those. So are we still seeing one of those things where kind of people get up enough money to get their policy started, and then after that they kind of do what I used to do when I was struggling financially, get my tags, and then you don't hear from me?
You just told me you did that the other day. What you mean you used to do that?
Whatever, man.
Well,
Whatever.
Just said you
Whatever.
Today he
Whatever.
turned over a new leaf.
Today, right? This is the change today.
Right, it was just his birthday.
Right.
We found out
Oh,
he just
man.
got a policy.
You gonna have DPD looking for me for real.
Just made me forget the question.
But is there something that he's saying? Is that something that did you find out? A lot of people still doing is, the what do you say, cancellation of insurance.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, that does happen, but not as often as it used to, because the rates are a lot better. But it does happen, and just nature of the beast. It happens more in the city. It just does.
Now the reality is, and I don't think a lot of young people know this anymore. I mean, I'm pretty sure police officers know if you have insurance before they even get to your car, right? So it's like all the things that I remember I used to do, as Dwan said. I don't think you can do those things no more, because they know if you have insurance right before they get to your car. So it makes sense just to come to you and get insurance.
Exactly. Just to
Right.
have it.
Exactly.
Because then what's going to happen is what's happened to all of us. I've done it too. I've had a driving record this long because no insurance ticket, over and over and over again. So after I cleared that up after multiple years, I was just tired of it. And I'm like, okay, let me get it and keep it this time, because I'm really tired of paying these tickets and these driver responsibility fees, or whatever it is they want to put in the fold when you have those tickets. So I just want to keep it right.
That's good to know. I mean, that's always good to know when because we all have faults, right? And someone may be thinking to themselves, I can't start me a State Farm business because whatever's going on. And you had a long laundry list of tickets of driver responsibility fees and all that kind of stuff. But like saying, pushing past that and still be able to do what you're doing right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about just again, when we think about entrepreneurs. Now, as an agency, are you a franchisee? Is that what you consider a franchisee?
Not technically. Each individual agency is owned individually. However, the book belongs to State Farm.
Okay. Okay. And so is that a difficult task if someone wanted to get into the insurance game? Is that, is it a difficult task? How long did it take you?
It is not difficult. It took me about a year from the time I started studying for my licensing and all the background checks and stuff like that to the time I opened. And it's not difficult at all. So if anybody wants to look into owning your own agency, and I'm not sure if you can see me on this video accentuating my words because I want you to hear me. Please give me a call. I can definitely help you. We have programs to help with that.
Oh, nice.
Nice. I got one more question that's kind of specific to that. Before we dive into like the next series of questions, as you sit in the seat that you talked about, where you kind of like you're in both spaces, right? You're a Black woman, Detroiter, but you also represent the insurance industry to your customers. Is there room, as I hear you talking about being like number one and you're ranking at 51, as you're climbing in notoriety within the organization or in State Farm community, is there room for you to kind of like serve as an advocate, perhaps to, talk to the powers that be or whoever the decision makers, or I don't know who it is that regulates and dictates how the rates, how they come up with the rates, but is there a space or avenue that you've seen that you might be able to get in there and be a voice of the people?
Not a very large voice, not within the company. Now,
Okay.
with local leadership, state level leadership, because that pretty much that PIP law, that personal injury protection law, that law that the state of Michigan put in place, that is what changed the game for the rates.
Okay.
It wasn't the insurance companies because their hands are kind of tied because they had to do unlimited. But now you have a choice, so they have the flexibility of rating it differently.
Now, can you tell us, because the PIP law, because when you get that sheet, it says pick this, pick that, pick this, all these different things. He don't got insurance, so he don't know. But I know that it says all these different things to pick from, and it's confusing on which one you're supposed to pick, right? Because if you have insurance, health insurance, you pick a certain one. So which one are you supposed to be checking? Which box
It's
you supposed
personal.
to be checking?
So that's a conversation you should be having with your agent, whomever
Okay.
you're purchasing that insurance from, to find out, okay, what's the best option? Because it's not always, and then sometimes, especially in with in the city, most of the time we're like, all right, just give me the most affordable because we're
Right.
so used to paying astronomical prices for insurance. So the first thing we say is just make sure I don't have to pay too much. On the flip side of that, though, we need to understand that when you are choosing the least, you also have the least coverage. So if something happens, so let's say, for instance, if I do choose a PIP option that gives me $50,000 in medical coverage, if I get into a car accident and it's more than $50,000 for my medical bills, I got to figure out how I'm gonna pay that. And that can happen to anyone. So that's another reason to really have that conversation with your agent to say, okay, I get you want the lowest, but let's talk about coverages. Let's make sure you're covered because we don't. It's not a problem until we need it.
Yeah.
And then it's too late.
Yep. All right, cool. I want to shift gears just a little bit. And one of the things that we notice with the entrepreneurs that we work with, that we know personally, but also those that come to BLD for funding and other resources, is that there's always some type of social responsibility connected to the heart of the entrepreneur. If it's job creation or if it's providing something additional to the service or the products that you offer, what does that look like for Crystal? What else are you involved in that serves Detroiters or people in general, in addition to what you do at State Farm?
Well, first of all my employees are Detroiters. And I tell my employees, as well as anybody that applies with me, I don't provide a job, I provide an opportunity on purpose, because I want you to want to be here. And even if it's not a situation where you're like, okay, I'm going to retire from here. If you're honest and say, hey, you're getting 3 to 5 years out of me, then I'm going to do everything I can to build you up to wherever it is you're trying to be in that 3 to 5 years. So that's the first thing. I embrace my employees and make sure that they want to be there every single day. The second part of that, I had to write down because I'm in so many groups that I couldn't remember. A couple of them, Black United Fund. I sit on the board of Black United Fund, but before I started sitting on their board, I was volunteering with them for about 3 years.
Nice.
We Care Foster Care. I was actually a foster parent at the age of 18. T. Rose Foundation, Young Entrepreneurs Academy. We did at Mary Grove College. It was a week-long Young Entrepreneurs Academy for young Black business owners from the ages of 10 to 17 that have either started their businesses or want to start a business. And we help them come up with their business pitch. We help them with their headshots, with their business plans. We help them apply, and they got $500 grants too. And each table was set up like their own business. So they had their branded materials, whatever it is they're into, was on their desk, and they got to get up and go to work every morning because they stayed on campus. So it was a 5-day program. And I'm super proud of that. We are partnered with Bagley Elementary. We do fire prevention for the 3rd graders in Miss Ellison's class. Medicare 101 workshops for our seniors. We do those too at First Institutional Baptist Church. We do senior expos. Our next one is going to be with 1% Better at the Boys and Girls Club on Tireman. Independent Business Association. Bagley Community Council. Black Leaders Detroit. We do a ton. But community has always been in me before I even started, because I am the community. Like the village that's needed to raise kids raised me. So that's why I'm always trying to give back.
It's interesting because I got to put you on Front Street. I'm sorry I got to do
See
this.
what I'm saying?
I'm sorry because you said
First
so
you
many
said I
amazing
was
things.
not a good
So I want
rapper.
to sit in the amazingness that you are for a minute.
You should stop apologizing when you for things that you're not really sorry for. So just
I'm gonna let you. We're gonna sit in amazingness for a minute. But the last time we spoke, because you started earlier saying how you encourage all your employees, and I'm sure.
Don't bring up my past. What do you mean?
Hold on.
Last time we spoke?
The last time we spoke, you told me you had to fire your son.
I did fire my son.
But you just telling us so why did you have to fire your son? I'm gonna put that out there.
But no, you can't work for me because he said it was just too much. And my industry is so fast and so quick, and it's always moving, that he was like, oh man, Ma, this is a lot. And I said, okay, so when should we drop you off at school? This is not gonna, no.
That's when you knew it's time. It's time for him to go to college, right?
Let's go.
You ain't about to be in the family business,
but
son.
He is happily at EMU. Sorry, Donis, if you hear this, but
So I think Ken's false apologies might be contagious, because I heard him apologize to you for bringing it up, and now you apologizing. I think you happy that Adonis is it Donis? It's Donis is at EMU. We have to run to another commercial break. Donis, if you out there, your mom loves you, but you better do some studying, because I don't think she's gonna pick you back up when you graduate. I hope you're going into something totally different. Cut.
All right, for today's trivia, we are talking about a man named Alonzo. Now, Alonzo went from a small town in Georgia and walked by foot to Atlanta with only $11 in his pocket and 1 year of formal schooling. So when he got to Atlanta, he started making his money by being a barber. He eventually opened up a barbershop, and he is now known in history as Atlanta's first Black millionaire. And he helped basically make an avenue in Atlanta called Sweet Auburn Avenue the richest Negro street in the world. And that is a direct quote. So again, we're giving homage to a man named Alonzo, who was Atlanta's first Black millionaire, who was a barber. So that's it for today.
Um, we do want to talk a little bit more about your experience as an entrepreneur, right? With you having a little bit more than 1 year in, I guess we sometimes talk about like the fight within the fight, right? So you have entrepreneurs, right? Trying to navigate the craziness that it takes to be an entrepreneur. But then you have the Black experience, right? But in addition to that, you're a woman, right? So I think that there's some things that you may have faced, may have to deal with that we can't relate to. So, what are your thoughts on that? What are the difference that you see being a Black woman, um, dealing with whatever it is that has come your way that we may not be able to relate to? You want to talk to the men that are listening.
Sheesh. I think that being a woman and being a Black woman, one, we're always expected to have it and then be strong and have these broad shoulders because you've raised kids, right? And a lot of times you had to do it on your own. So you got
Fired
these
kids
broad
too.
shoulders, right? And you don't have to, you don't need as much assistance as somebody else because you got it, right? Like they just assume like you good. It's like, but no. And if you're not, it's almost the same situation with the medical industry where a lot of Black women feel like it's just like, no, I really am in pain. I can't just tolerate everything that comes my way. I really am hurting. Um, I feel like you have to almost scream it from the rooftops, like, "Ah, I need help. My hair is on fire," in order for somebody to say, "Oh, so you need help?" Yeah, like I only just been saying it for forever, but you
Right.
just say like, "Oh, I need some assistance," or "Hey," or if you need some help, call me. Okay, so I need help. Okay, I'll give you a call back. So it's just almost like you're expected to know it or have it or know how to get it. I always tell my kids, people call their kids their broke best friends. But I always tell my kids because growing up they always felt like, "Oh, well, you have it, mommy," because we never not had it. But it's like, well, you don't know what came with that. There was plenty of times we didn't have it. I just made it look good, or I never said anything. And we're expected to do that. And just for me, I can only speak for myself personally. Some of that is because what we talked about a little bit earlier on it. Sometimes we wear that as a badge of honor. That struggle. It's like, oh well, I can do it. I know this. And that was a roadblock for me for a long time because it's like, well, if you got it, then do it. But it's like, oh no, I was kidding. Like I don't really have it. So I feel like we're expected to have it. And then on the flip side of that, because mentally we know we're expected to have it and we know we might have trouble getting assistance, we take on that attitude of I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
Which causes another snowball of a situation.
I would imagine that feels one way when you get it from people that aren't in our community. I'd imagine it probably feels a little bit different or has an extra sting when you're getting that type of treatment from Black men. So if you wanted to enlighten us and tell us what we could do better, can you share that with us?
See us and know that it has not been easy. Just like we know it hasn't been easy for you guys. Like we need you guys. We love you guys. We want you to succeed. We want you to be mentally stable enough to be able to lead us, or help us, or whatever the role is going to be. But hear us when we say we need help, or pay attention and see that, oh, something's off, or just ask me how I'm doing because I might just tell you I'm not good and start the conversation. But actually put action behind it. If you say, hey, okay, you know what, let me see what I can help you with, then put some action behind it. Don't just say it and keep it moving.
Now, do you feel that I won't say it.
We'll edit it. Say it.
The Black men don't want you to succeed. That's not what I'm trying. But like the feeling like the support isn't there is what I'm trying to ask. Do you feel that way?
Yes, sometimes. Sometimes I do feel that way, and mostly is with other entrepreneurs. And this is new for me. So that feeling is new for me. And it's almost jolting because it's like, oh, I I thought my energy is my energy all the time.
Mhm.
And it's jarring to me if I go into a room with my energy and I'm like, hey Dwan, how you doing? And you like, how'd you get that again? How'd you get up there? How many people did you have writing for you? And it's like, whoa, okay. All
Mm,
right. Well,
mm. And that, I'm assuming that's been a real experience you've
yeah.
received from
Yeah.
black men or a black man.
Yeah.
Mm,
It is.
wow.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Not all of them though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think sometimes would you put on like the intimidation factor, right? Of feeling intimidated or like what would you say that your idea that comes from? Your
I have a
opinion.
whole therapy session about this. I think some of it is intimidation. I think it's twofold. I think we all hold some accountability. Because on one end, I do think is they feel intimidated because it's like, okay, I feel like I should be the one that's providing, or I should feel like I should be the one that's more successful than this woman because I'm the man, or however they're feeling. That's just the perception that I've been getting. And then on the opposite end of that, I feel like we as women, and I can only speak for myself, need to we also need to see you, and we also need to understand you are also going through something, and it can't just be I'll get over it and keep it moving and just come over here, or whatever, I'll do it myself. It can't always be that. Sometimes let's work together to see how we can work together, because it doesn't have to be alone or independent, because that's really, we're our biggest drawback with that situation, because we put ourselves in little silos and we say, all right, I'm going to get successful here myself, by myself. Nope, I don't want to bring in anybody else. I just want to get successful by myself, like it's only $1 left in the entire world.
Yeah.
We just need to act more like a village.
I never understood that intimidation factor. 'Cause I want to be kept. Like, can I say that word? Kept? I mean, I'm good. You
Say whatever you want to say. I tell you what, I ain't gonna get canceled. I'm gonna speak for myself. He's speaking for himself. I'm speaking for myself. All right, look, I go up against everybody. Anybody that know me know I say what I feel. But if there's one group I'm scared of, it's the sisters. So I'm treading lightly, and I'm here to listen and learn. So go ahead and say whatever you want to say.
That's it.
Go back to Ken and
Don't get scared. Don't get scared.
Said he wants an allowance.
Right, I want an allowance. That's what I want. But no, I never understood the intimidation factor because I'm definitely a cheerleader for all women, all people, really. But especially, again, I think you should just want everyone to just be amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you're amazing, great. I'm taking motivation from that. Man, woman, white, black, I'm taking motivation from that.
Yeah.
Because we all can be amazing together.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just what makes the most sense to me.
I am seeing more of that though. And it's making me really, really proud and humble, because I'm seeing so much more of that, what you're saying, what we're saying, just the support and rallying around each other. I'm seeing more of that, and it's quite humbling.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you, right? I think that sometimes those painful moments kind of stick out and they burn in our mind. We have to do the work to remember all the other times when we were there for each other, right? When we did see and hear each other, right? The late, great Marlo Stoudemire was doing something he called Roster Detroit, where he was highlighting Detroiters, Black Detroiters that were talented. And he was doing it intentionally to combat the narrative that, people are saying they have to go outside of Detroit to find talent, to fill roles. And he did an amazing job highlighting sisters that had mentored him, that had helped him, and that was doing great work. And yeah, so shout out Marlo, and thank you for like reminding us that it does happen, and we are getting it right in some spaces, but even though we still have a long way to go. You want to dive into? She said something about like $1. So
$1.
$1.
$4
So I think that's on cue with kind of the BOD model, right? We're not us, getting people together to solve the problem. And we like to invite any and everybody that believes in fairness to support the work that we do at Black Leaders Detroit. So we know that you signed up to become a member, and you asked me, like, I didn't know, when did y'all come up with that idea? So what's your thoughts about one, being a recipient, but at the same time being a supporter, a donor, a member here at Black Leaders Detroit to support the work that we're doing?
So I didn't even know you could become a member until I came into you guys' offices that day. Had I known that, I would have been a member even when I started initially stalking you
I don't know how you were stalking us and you ain't know you could sign
Well,
up.
no, so I showed
What could y'all
Ken,
some
when
selective
I pulled it
stalking
up
you were
on my
doing?
phone, I'm like, how do you join? Where's the join button? So he had to I guess something with the mobile site or something. But the join button wasn't on there. Sharia.
Random say a name, Sharia.
Well, yeah, because she had to help me find
She
it.
did.
But I would have, because it's in support of us, and there isn't many programs that are in support of us. And let me just say, like, truly in support of us, right? So there are some programs, but I've run up against so many different situations. It's unbelievable. But I've experienced some programs that are advertised for us, but man, it's just really difficult, like super duper duper difficult. So I decided not to go with those, obviously, but being able to be looked at like an individual and not a loan number or not a credit score or just based off my financial statements. You guys were interested in my dream and my vision and what I saw for myself and what I saw for my community. And that had some weight in your decision to fund me. And that for me was like, y'all really can't do any wrong because of it. You probably could, but you know what I mean.
That's what Donna's thought. She'll be done shipped us all up to Ypsilanti. We'll all be enrolling in Eastern Michigan University. Y'all can do no wrong. That's what she said, Donna. Told Donna. We know
You're
better.
gonna be fine. You will, just not here.
But thank you so much. That is an awesome sentiment, right? And just as you was mentioning, the importance of group economics, us coming together, as you mentioned earlier, in community to support one another, right? And that is the purpose of the programming: $1 a week, $52 a year, but just the feeling of you being able to give back to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, like I love to say I'm one of the first members. I am the first member, actually. So,
Probably second too.
And second member, right? Thank you. You always remind me of that. I'm the first and second member. But it does feel great to be able to yeah, sign Adonis up too. It does feel good to be able to contribute to community.
Actually, yes. Sign him up.
Yes, right. So yeah, so thanks for that sentiment. And then, like you just said earlier, that's one of the things we love about the organization too, and what we do is have an opportunity to learn about everyone's story, right? Learn where people come from, how they got to where they're at, the work that you've done to start your agency is so inspiring to us, was inspiring to us, right? And there's just so many stories like that we hear as we're talking to different folks, and so we really enjoy these stories, and that's what feels so good in regards to supporting entrepreneurs and supporting community, is being able to support those stories. So I was glad to hear yours.
I was glad to tell it.
That's good. That's good.
Now, if you'd have told us you fired your son before you got the loan, I don't know if you'd got it then.
Well,
So I think we're probably gonna close with this. There's something I say in different spaces where I think we are expected to not be able to express the emotion of anger, right? And we've heard the term angry Black man, angry Black woman, right? And often my response to that is like, yes, I am angry, and I have things to be angry about, right? So like, you're not going to shame me with being the angry Black man, but I'm also hopeful, right? I'm also optimistic, and I'm also here, right? But I'm not going to pretend to not be angry to make others comfortable, right? So with that being the case, we want to give you a moment to express something that angers you, um, that you want to see changed or you work to do something about. So I know that that's probably a question you wasn't really prepared for,
Right.
but we want to challenge you to press your way into that, and think about not just yourself, but the different communities that you represent, right? And something that you've seen play out that really angers you and you want to see um, changed.
So this doesn't have anything to do with insurance. It has something to do with community, though. So I told you guys I was a foster parent at 18, and I worked with youth for a very long time. And I think what angers me is so this village that we have that we've been talking about throughout this entire conversation. I feel like it's the right of everybody to have it. Um, and it seems like with foster children, especially those that are aging out of the system, they're not properly prepared for the world. Meaning, they turn 18, they're given a stipend for a car, they're given assistance for rent, they're given free college tuition, a couple other things they're given, insurance for their vehicles, but they're not given the education that it takes to be able to actually live as an adult by yourself. So yeah, I have this car, right? But like maintenance, when should I do that? When do I do? How do I pick a car? Right? I'm just going. This looks good, so I'm just gonna select it. With my rent, right? Like, how do I budget my money to make sure I'm not getting put out? When I go to college, what classes am I picking? What profession am I picking? What do I do? How do I'm just leaving high school and I was in foster care, and some of them have been bounced around, so they don't really have a solid foundation. And so now you're sticking me in the middle of the world and saying, "All right, here's some money. Go ahead." And then what happens, because I have a family that has aged out of the foster care system, and so then what happens is they get into the world and they start making bad decisions because they don't know any better, and so they grow to be um, older, and most of them grow to be those people that you're like, they should know better, but how? Because who taught them?
Mhm.
Where'd you learn that? You didn't.
Okay.
So I think we need to do a better job at preparing our children, foster care or not, they are our children. So we need to do a better job at preparing them for life, for the world. So it is not a crystal situation where I'm just trying to survive, and every dollar I get, okay, let me go buy this 5 pack of noodles and split this amongst the kids, and I'll figure out tomorrow. Um, I think we need to prepare them better if we want the world that we want to see our children and our children's children grow up in. We have to prepare them adequately, or it's just not gonna happen.
Mm. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks. Ken, did you have anything that you wanted to share?
No,
You want
sir.
to take a moment to be angry?
I don't want to take a moment to be angry. What I'm angry about?
That you're Kevin.
I
Make
think
you mad.
I think that would be it. That I'm Kevin. Did you know our producer, our sound engineer, when we got in today, kept calling me Kevin. You know what I mean? And so, I think that got me very angry. I really wanted to be Ken today. Made me forget my own name when I got on the mic earlier. But no, in all seriousness, it's actually what Crystal was saying earlier. Mine's a little bit different, just a tad bit, but just I've been mentored for a very long time. So we work with young people, and after that, as she just mentioned, programming is done. once you get to 18, it's like deuces, you know. And so I've always thought it was important for career readiness for those people who weren't going to college, who once they finish high school, to get them to that next step, right? And there's not enough programming for young folks to get to that next step, and so they just out here, just out here trying to figure it out. You're just saying, all right, what do I do? You know, and so there needs to be a really good programming to help young people between the ages of 18 and probably 25 figure out what that next step is for them. If it's not college, if it's not even a skilled trade school, if that's not what you're going to do, what is that next thing that you're going to do? What are those soft skills that you need to learn in regards to, you know, from paying your rent, as she mentioned, to your paying your insurance, how important that is, how important credit is. Right? Like, my credit's been messed up until maybe about 2 years ago, you know, but it's just because it wasn't important to me. It was nothing important to me until it had to be important to me. And by that time, it was way too late.
Yeah.
Right. And so just those type of things of just having more programming for that, I think is really cool.
Oh,
really good.
Well, thanks to both of y'all for sharing that. I think it's a healthy practice for us to be okay with being angry about some things. So with that's a wrap on our show. Crystal, thank you so much for coming here and speaking for yourself. And Kevin, aka Ken, aka Keith Sweat, thanks for sharing your thoughts. Everybody out there, thanks for listening. And we can't wait to have you on so you can speak for yourself.
Peace.
I need to put something on the end of that, don't I?
All anticipating,
So,
like, okay.
Adonis. That's how you say it, leave it there. Say it, leave it there. Say it, leave it there.
Cut, stop. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, cut.
Turn it off.
Cut.
Pause.